we all made it through vet school. And so if we can make it through vet school, we're smart enough to learn business as well.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, 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 and yes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not everyone wants to own a practice, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to own a practice, if you want to be a leader of a practice, any of that, then you certainly already have the aptitude. You just need the education.
Hi, guys, and welcome to the House Call Vet Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison. I'm a full-time integrative concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles, and I help other vets to build their unique mobile practices on their terms. This podcast is for and by house call and mobile veterinarians, so it is meant to give our community a platform to connect, to share our stories, to lift each other up, and to support each other. Most of us work solo as lone wolves, right? So for me, it's been really powerful to be able to physically hear the voices of my colleagues from all over the world and to get a chance to feel that we truly are part of a community of very real other human beings who get it. While you may be alone in that little bubble of your own vehicle when you're on the road seeing patients, I welcome you to join our community by tuning into our own podcast when you're on your way to your next house call. Whether you're a super experienced house call vet with 30 years of experience, you're a brand new prospective house call vet just looking to get started, or you're house call curious, there will be something for you in this podcast. Each episode, you will hear interviews from other mobile veterinarians just like yourself who are doing unique and innovative things, vets who are sharing their stories, their struggles and challenges, and you can also look forward to hearing valuable information and perspectives from specialists and experts outside of our micro niche. And finally, if becoming a house call veterinarian is something that you've been thinking about exploring, or you're looking for some extra support getting your own mobile practice to feel more profitable and sustainable for you, check out the information in the show notes about my course and our above and beyond supportive private community for members only, plus our monthly group coaching sessions within the House Call Vet Academy. You can also check out my free public Facebook group, which is also called the House Call Vet Cafe, the same name as this podcast, and which is a warm and cozy community for mobile vets to support each other in professional and personal development, in creative entrepreneurship, and in friendship. So thank you guys for spending time with me today. Let's dive into the episode. Hi, everyone. Today we have two really special guests on the show. We have Dr. Meredith Jones and Dr. Willie Bidot from the Veterinary Financial Summit, together speaking with us about financial things and summits and all the things. And I'm just super excited to have both of these guys here with us because there's obviously a lot of overlap between veterinary financial subjects and the entrepreneurship that is kind of the focal point of this podcast, right? So to introduce our guest, Dr. Meredith Jones is a veterinarian and the co-founder of Veterinary Financial Summit, a financial conference and online community for veterinary professionals. She is a self-professed money nerd who attends financial conferences and courses in her spare time. I relate to that. In 2016, she completed training to become a financial coach and founded the Debt Free Vets Facebook group, which is awesome. And she is also the co-host of the Veterinary Financial Podcast. She is passionate about helping veterinary professionals achieve their financial goals. Welcome, Meredith.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And then we also have Dr. Willie Bidot, who is a board-certified laboratory animal veterinarian in California and the CFO of Veterinary Financial Summit. He has become also a money nerd by virtue of having to learn to tackle the $400,000 of student debt that he and his wife, who is also a veterinarian, accrued during vet school. Yep, you represent a lot of us. And, through his path of financial literacy, he has found himself helping other veterinarians and veterinary students with their finances. One of his hobbies is to review contracts for students and recent graduates. He also enjoys traveling back home to provide veterinary services through a nonprofit he co-founded, Veterinarians for Puerto Rico, which is awesome. Welcome, Willie. How are you?
Thank you so much for that great introduction. I'm doing great. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you both here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the usual question. Do you guys like to snack on anything in the car? Or maybe since you're not house call vets per se, do you like to snack on anything on the job, whatever it is that you're doing?
Meredith.
Yeah, let's prove.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I do drive a little bit. I do some vaccine clinics usually on the weekends. So I tend to see myself, moving between clinics on Saturdays and Sundays. So lately I've been doing a lot of exercise and trying to eat a high protein diet. So random thing that I just eat right now, it's a bag of tuna or salmon or any fish that comes in a can or a bag. I just put some ketchup, a little bit of mayo, and that's it.
Sorry. I hate mayonnaise.
Well, it's not a great snack, but again, it's just because what I'm trying to do right now. But working out and whatnot. But yeah,
All right. Okay, it works for you. Awesome. Not trying to make fun of you. The root mayonnaise even just like makes me like want to throw up. But anyway, thank you for sharing that. And Meredith, what is your what kind of snacks do you eat when you're on the job or on the way to the job?
Yeah, so I'm more of a cheese and crackers kind of person
Okay.
when I want a snack in the afternoon. Definitely not tuna.
yeah.
That's funny. All right. So those are two solid snacks. Thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to delve a little bit more into the fact that you guys are just really cool guests on the show because, as I mentioned before, you're not house call vets, and that's okay. But you have some really interesting stuff to offer, really interesting ideas to offer for listeners of the show who are mostly entrepreneurs, house call vet owners and new business owners and things like that, or very experienced business owners in some cases who, all of us can benefit from financial and everyone can benefit from financial information no matter where you are on the journey. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys got to where you are in your journeys, including your interests in financial nerdiness that, I alluded to in your bios?
Again, you pretty much said it in your bio. So I graduated from vet school. I did an internship and I did a residency. So, no money made for plenty of years. All of a sudden, I become a lab animal vet. I started making a decent salary and, the conventional, I'm going to save some money to retirement and whatnot. But finally, me and my wife started living together and I was trying to figure out how to get our finances together. At that point, when we first started living together, we were saving for a wedding. And fortunately, we saved aggressively and saved a lot quicker than I thought. And then again, like, okay, so what is the next thing we're going to save for? We had student loans. How do we tackle that? Well, my wife and I have about the same amount, about 210K each. And I just started feeding myself with books, anything I could read. Finally, I reached out to Meredith through Facebook and said, hey, that Deaf Events group is pretty cool. How can I get involved? And yeah, and now I'm here.
Awesome.
Rest is history.
Very cool. I wanted to just like totally have a random interruption. Congrats on getting married. I don't know when that was, but like my guy and I, we just kind of eloped last week
So,
and our rings just arrived in the mail. Literally just now, someone just like banged at the door. So our wedding rings just arrived. So little personal interruption right now. That was sort of like coincidental, but very cool that you just kind of threw yourself at it. And then you sort of found Meredith, who had this platform kind of already started and that it just locked in like that. Very cool.
yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like literally the box just arrived at the door. I was like, yes, my rings. Our rings. Yay. So Meredith, passing the mic to you.
All right. So I graduated back in 2008. And so I graduated with, by the time I was paying off my student debt, I had about 120,000 in debt. And so certainly not as much as most vets who graduate today or have over the last several years. But I just kind of hit this shock moment after my internship when I actually started having to pay the loans off and thought, gosh, I've got to figure out how I'm going to do this and how I'm going to tackle this huge debt. And so I just became a really big money nerd while I was paying off my debt, started reading everything I could listening to some podcasts and things like that, and ended up paying off my debt in about 3.5 years once I got serious about it.
Good job.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I started thinking, well, I'd like to help other people. And so I took a financial coaching course. The same year I took that course was when I started the Debt Free Vets Facebook group and then
Big group.
started doing
Isn't it?
speaking. Yeah, we're over 9,000 vets and vet students now.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, and then back in 2019, co-founded with Phil Zelsman the Veterinary Financial Summit. And so I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we will for sure. That's awesome. I love like you guys are so like similar to how I started my journey, just like a problem, leaned into it, resolved it, and like somehow like are in this awesome position where we can help other people with the problems that we figured out or overcame, or like at least have some like specialized knowledge now because we just went so deep into the problem, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on a Facebook group of 9,000. That's very impressive. And you're helping so many people. It's just incredible. So, you mentioned the conference. Can you tell me, Meredith, what kind of inspired the conference? We're co sponsoring each other's conferences, actually. And I was at your last conference and it was phenomenal. And, now we're like on each other's podcasts too. And so, our offerings are really kind of complementing each other. And I'd love for you to just kind of tell us a little bit about the conference, the process of setting it up, and like how was it received, like the inspiration behind it. Let me hear your thoughts on it. So it's really a
Huh.
cool thing you guys put together.
All right. Yeah, well, thank you. And we're certainly excited about co-sponsoring our conferences as well. And so the Veterinary Financial Summit, the thought behind it and the insight was just seeing how many veterinarians, especially, but veterinary professionals in general, just really because we, of course, didn't learn a lot about finances or business in vet school. A lot of people were coming out and either starting a practice and really not knowing what to do, or just beginning that process and not knowing how to get started. From the personal finance side, certainly having a huge amount of concern about student debt, investing, how do I get started, and just not having the educational background. And so we saw a gap in financial education in the field. If you look at physicians, if you look at dentists, there's actually more than one conference for each of those professions out there about finances. And so we wanted to be able to provide that for veterinarians as well.
Very cool. And I love that you're kind of going across like interdisciplinary. I relate to that a lot too. Like, what are the dentists doing? What are the attorneys doing? What are the human MDs doing? And, what educational resources outside of our veterinary training can we bring in to this space? Like, you went and got your business coaching. That's not a part of veterinary training. And yet, that's where we have to get things, the interdisciplinary, the cross training almost, I think is where that sort of genius comes in to really make transformational changes in our community and our profession. And I think, thank you for doing that because, we need to be thinking outside the box. And I'm glad you're doing that. So congrats and really, really cool. And, otherwise we're kind of an echo chamber, just copying each other, doing this and that and this and that. And, it's like, where's the fresh ideas? So I love that you're doing that. And Willie, how did you get involved? I think you joined so Phil took a break or kind of stepped down, and then Willie's here now. And I think since the last conference you've joined, what is your kind of role or contribution to the conference at this point? Or thoughts,
Yeah, so
goals?
so in the last summit, I was a moderator,
Yes, you were, I remember that.
and Meredith pretty much asked me, hey, can you meet with me? It was in December. I actually flew over to her house to meet up, and we had kind of a 3-day business meeting. And I said yes to joining the VFS group. And yeah, it's so January, I guess officially January 2022. I've been part of the leadership group, and it's been awesome. being a host of the podcast has been one of the most rewarding things. I really enjoy speaking and talking to all these professionals. And like you were saying earlier, like there's vets that start branching out of veterinary medicine into business and whatnot. And you're like, oh my God, like where are you in my life? I need you right now. Like I need business help. I need a lawyer. I need an accountant. So
Yeah.
and that's what we're trying to do at the summit, bring all those resources together and have them present in a 2-day virtual summit. So yeah, because you go to a conference, I went to one of the big ones recently. You have to walk like a mile to each room, and then it's really sparse. And it's difficult, if at some point I don't want to learn more medicine. I really want to learn other aspects that involve our profession. We were talking about vet school earlier. Vet school is all about medicine. Nobody's taught me anything about business or accounting or, hey, you should be saving for retirement, which is really basic. Uh,
Yeah.
you just life overall. Nobody taught me that. So again, I'm trying to feed or get that information. And so, yeah, that's what we're hoping for people to come join us. We have been trying to be more inclusive by including students, including vet techs and whatnot, so that everybody can get some good information, specifically finance related.
Yeah. And so for the topics we focus on, so it's a personal finance, so anything from investing, student debt, entrepreneurship, and then also practice finance and practice management topics.
Very cool. And I very much relate to that idea that, we weren't given this information when we graduated from school. We know enough veterinary medicine for a lifetime. Like literally, like, please, no more. I don't need to know any more things. Like I can barely keep the things I already know in my head. Like, what about practical? What about, empowering veterinarians to start their own practice so that we're not kind of the victims of the corporate takeover? Like what about empowering us to know how to handle a business? What about empowering us to be able to retire without selling our practice necessarily to corporate? Like how about giving us the tools directly instead of depending on professional investors and professional people who are private equity folks who that's their career. Why not put that power and that information into our hands so that we can make those decisions for ourselves? And, I think you guys know by now I have a little bit of a bend towards anti-corporate bend and wanting to empower us. And so I know you didn't quite exactly say that, but I think in effect, by giving people tools like this, we are empowering individual vets and we are empowering independent vets. And I think that's really awesome. Even if it's like a side dish to your primary goal, or maybe it is your primary goal. I'm not sure. Any comments on that?
The comment I would have is, I don't have anything against corporate medicine. But again, it's understanding what does that entail. That means they are gaining all the equity on you.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure that you have a good quality of life as a veterinarian and are getting paid appropriately. I appreciate what you are doing because I hear a lot of people that, are in the investment world and are not veterinarians and say, oh, the best investment is on a practice. Well, some practices are pretty expensive. So if you can have something else like opening a house call and you can tell us, and I'm sure your course talks about, how much you think it's a cost for the initial cost, I guess. Like it's a lot less than buying into a clinic. So again, those are things that, yeah, you can go another route. If you want to open a clinic at some point, hopefully you can, but you can be your own owner and learn about business. Again, we don't get taught anything about business. So might as well just start a small one and then see it grow.
Mhm. Yeah. Agreed with that. Meredith, you were going to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to come back to what I was thinking about while Willie was talking here. Yeah, which is really, I mean, we all made it through vet school. And so if we can make it through vet school, we're smart enough to learn business as well.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, 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 and yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not everyone wants to own a practice, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to own a practice, if you want to be a leader of a practice, any of that, then you certainly already have the aptitude. You just need the education.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I always say this, like, if you can spay a dog or you can euthanize a bunny or you can do any of the things we do every single day, you can understand business, you can understand finance, you can start a business, you can have a business, you can be an entrepreneur. All of that far pales in comparison to everything we've been trained to do so far, including the emotional weight of the job we do. You can also take on the emotional weight of running a business. It's far less of a big deal than being a vet itself, in my opinion. I mean, being an entrepreneur and business owner has different and interesting challenges that are emotional and logistic. But I think that in general, like anyone that's a vet, like you have the aptitude, just like you said, like the aptitude is there. That's not going to hold anyone back, in my opinion. And it's just a matter of giving people the tools and the education and maybe sometimes even just the confidence to know you can do this. You absolutely can do this. And there's a community, there's resources, there's mentors, there's coaches, there's everyone out there to support you. And I'm just so glad that you guys are putting that kind of messaging out there because I think it's so important. And I think just the general message of empowerment, regardless of whether it's finance, whether it's entrepreneurship, the empowerment, like you can do this. Honestly, whatever it is, you can do this. You're a vet, you passed every test under the sun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you can take control of your career.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I mean, we've been literally trained to think inside the box. Like, that is the training of a vet. Like, don't go outside the textbook. Don't go outside what you've been taught in school because that's malpractice. Like, like don't do anything other than what you've been told to do because you will either have your license endangered or you'll be judged by your colleagues. Like, that's the environment that we were all trained in. And so I think having folks like you guys like open it up, think outside the box, bring ideas from other industries, giving people the confidence and the empowerment to be able to lean into these subjects, whatever aspect of the financial world people might be craving or needing. So, congrats, big props. I'm a big fan of you guys. And so, kind of moving along to another aspect of things, can you tell me about any challenges you've faced helping veterinarians with their finances? Like, are people really stuck in the box and you have a hard time pulling them out of it? Or are people resistant to taking steps towards their own financial health? What kinds of challenges have you guys faced doing the work?
So you kind of open it up, talking about resistance or thinking about outside the box. Most of the time, and we spoke about this recently, Meredith and I, in another podcast, and it's avoidance. People have just been avoiding. Again, you become a vet to focus on veterinary medicine, not to focus on, oh, I need to pay the bills, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to invest. What about my future?
Right.
So when you tell them, okay, you're frustrated, you have no money saved, you have to save, you have to start learning about these things. Most of them freeze. They just freeze and say, let me see what I can do. And they just keep avoiding it and avoiding it. And again, you get even frustrated as somebody that tries to do some sort of coaching because you provide all the information and then a month later or several months later, what have you done lately? None of the stuff that we put in the to-do list was done. And again, it's just avoidance. If you really are worried about your finances, you have to take control of them. Nobody's going to do that for you. And if they say so, they're charging you for it.
Yeah, and then speaking to what you just said, Willie, about avoidance, one thing that I have found just through as much nerdy studying as I've done is that there are financial literacy studies that actually show that people learn best when they're at the stage where they're ready to act on the advice. And that's specific to personal finance. It probably is to other areas, but it's been actually shown in studies. So, for example, if you're in vet school and you're in year 1 or 2 and somebody's talking to you about student loans, it's not really going to be something you put into practice until fourth year or first year you're out of school. Or today with the COVID freeze, it might be when you're 3 years out of school. And so what's most relevant is what is right in front of you. So you're going to take in the information about mortgages better when you're about to buy a house.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really
Yeah.
interesting observation, and it also kind of ties in with why we're not taught about business and finance in school, partially because we don't give a shit at that point. Like if I offered like a straight business class on even if I'd been offered the exact class that I teach now, how to start a house call practice, I would have been like, that's not, I don't need that. I want to be a vet. I don't want to own a practice. I have no interest in that. It's all going to go in one ear, out the other. And like, meanwhile, I'm like, why didn't they teach us this in vet school? But I know, like, looking back on myself, I wouldn't have even known that I needed that. And I think the same goes for the financial information that you pointed out. And I mean, I don't know that, any of these courses in vet school would be as powerful as they are offered at the exact time and place that you are offering your teachings and I'm offering my teachings. And like, you have to be ready for it. Like, it's that expression, like, once you start taking the steps, the path appears, or like, once you need help, the mentor appears, or, all these Yoda stuff. And, I think some of that is like, it is really interesting to think about timing and the studies that you mentioned, that you have to be kind of ready, and that resistance. You're absolutely right. There's also like interesting things. Like, do you ever get this where people are like, well, I don't have the money to invest right now? And it's like, oh my God, the way you're going to get the money is like you invest a little bit and then you're going to learn how to have more money. Or like, I'm not ready to open my house call practice. So I'm not going to, it's like, yeah, but if you want to be ready, this is how. This is how. Like, I don't know enough about house call practice to do. So it's very interesting, the conundrums and the forms of resistance that show up.
Mhm. Yeah, and another thing that I've seen come up, and I'm sure you've seen this both through your course and then also probably some of what you're teaching in your course and through this podcast as well, is just being hesitant to hire a professional. So we'll have people ask questions, and they may have a really complicated financial situation that where they could benefit from talking to an accountant or a financial advisor, but they're hesitant to do it. And we'll see it on the Facebook group all the time.
Good time. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same thing with student debt. There are student loan consultants out there that people can go to, and they'll figure out exactly what your best repayment strategy is, what your best repayment plan is. But we find a lot of hesitation to spend a few $100s to hire one.
Yeah, when ultimately, I mean, I see that constantly too. People like, it's almost like the penny wise, dollar not wise. Like, you don't want to spend on the consultant or the specialist that's going to save you tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, cough up the 200 or the 500 or whatever it is. That's under $1,000 usually for a one-on-one consultation with a professional. And they're going to say, like, why are you asking a bunch of veterinarians for free? You think they're gonna give you the same kind of valuable advice that you'll get from a person that's, a specialist in that area? You think everyone's gonna, for free in a few sentences, give you the answers you're looking for? Not sure about that?
Yep, and you probably have come across the same sort of thing with just how do I start a practice, and someone wanting a very clear, concise answer where they really need to take a whole course on it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people starting house call practices now, and you get very frequent posts in groups. I'm starting house call practice. How do I do it? What's a basic checklist? And it's like, okay, that is like the very, very tip of the iceberg. But okay, you'll start somewhere. It'll just be very slow, and you may make mistakes, big mistakes along the way. And I think it's kind of the same with finance. Like, if you try and go it all alone without a CPA, without a financial advisor, without a financial coach, like, there's just so many ways that you can get into trouble or not maximize your efficacy, basically. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, can you share your top 3 tips on financial well-being for a new business owner?
One of the top ones that comes to mind, we pretty much just went completely over it with it, which is ask for help and hire help. Don't be cheap. Don't be, an accountant for me is a good example. Like, oh, I can do that in TurboTax. You can certainly put the data in TurboTax, which I would highly recommend. And then, but at the end of the day, you should have an accountant do this information. So, TurboTax is usually free until you submit it. Do it yourself, see what the numbers come out, and then hire an accountant to do it. If you don't like the numbers that the accountant gives you, then ask him, hey, TurboTax said this compared to that. But otherwise, there's so many nuances that computer system doesn't know, especially when you have a business, which there's a lot of deductions and whatnot that you just don't know about.
Absolutely. Any other I mean, we can do 3 between you, or if you each have your own 3, we can absolutely go into each of your own 3.
Well, another one that I do want to comment on is because I see it. I think I'm on a Facebook group that you comment a lot, and I'm sorry, I'm fading. There's so many Facebook groups like Costco vets, relief vets, and whatnot. So, but one of them is clearly the issue of setting boundaries.
Yeah.
To set boundaries. I think it's the household group where a common question is, I don't know if I should fire this person. If you're thinking about it, fire that person. Like, I don't really, it's giving you a headache that you have to write it on Facebook. You have to fire that person.
Thank you. Bravo. Bravo. No, yeah, if you've seen my comments, I agree with that. It's like my personal mission to be like, fire them now. You posted exactly like if it's bothering you as much as it would take for you to post this question on Facebook. We all know what the answer is. Now you just need to believe in yourself because they've got to go.
They gotta go.
They got to go. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and then another one is unless you want to go ahead with another one, Willie.
I guess, simplify your life with asking for help is try to automate things. And again, I think the household group is awesome because you start seeing like, oh, what programs are people using? What things are maximizing your company? And of course, some of these programs do cost money, which, we all suffer when we have to spend. But if it takes 10, 15, an hour of your day to figure this stuff out when a computer system can actually do it, like scheduling, or, I'm just simply on something pretty basic. Like I know you only see 4 or 5 appointments a day, but still putting those appointments in a book every week, it starts getting pretty draining. And you can probably spend your time doing better things than writing stuff in the schedule.
Totally. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of automation. I agree. And sometimes you have to pay a little for it, but usually,
Mhm.
if you do it wisely and you pick the vendors that are reasonably priced and like really specific to the needs of a house call vet, it's worth it.
That's all I got.
Hey, Meredith, you have some ideas?
Yeah, another one that I'll add is just from the personal finance side, just making that part of your continuing education. So whether you say, okay, I'm going to read one financial book a year, or whether you say, okay, I'm going to keep up with this particular financial podcast, or going to financial webinars, or going to a financial conference, any of those things, just to make sure that it's part of your continuing ed journey. And then the other thing that I've heard, and I think about this all the time, is most people spend more time planning a vacation each year than they do focusing on their personal finances. And so if you think about that, gosh, how much better off could you be if you spent the same amount of time focusing on your personal finances, whether that is just learning more or whether that is sitting down and thinking about, okay, what are my life goals? Or whether it's actually automating, like what Willie said.
Awesome. I think that's so important. I think in the areas of finance, entrepreneurship, and business owning and all of that kind of stuff, this is lifelong learning. This is a journey that doesn't end. So I agree with you so much. And I think not only is it like an ongoing learning process for us as individuals, information out there changes over time, like tax code changes, the laws change, the stock market changes, what it looks like to be a business owner changes over time. And I think for that reason, I think stagnating in these very specific subjects that we teach and encourage people to empower themselves with, I think that's an ongoing process. And I think it always will be just due to the nature of it. So thanks for that. That was a really, really good tip. I like that a lot. And kind of in closing, is there anything else that you'd like people to know about, either of you guys, or something you have to offer? Anything else? Any closing ideas, wisdom, things?
Again, we talked about avoidance. If you want to take ownership with your finances, there are resources. We are offering one coming in October 22nd and 23rd, which is the VFS Summit, the Veterinary Financial Summit. You're going to meet great people. So it's good networking. You can get CE credits. So talking about corporate medicine, make that corporate pay for it. And yeah, it's a great start to your finances. And you have a practice. We also have a practice management / finances track for that as well.
Fantastic. Meredith?
So for me, I always say personal finance is personal. And so we see a lot of conversations out there where we see vets who have different goals giving each other advice, and it doesn't always work out well. And so just remembering that financial wellness doesn't look the same for everyone. Financial freedom doesn't look the same for everyone. And you really have to define that for yourself.
Oh, thank you for saying that too. I feel the same, very same way about people starting their practices, and that it's very personal, like what success looks like, what freedom looks like, what, finances look like, that everyone's family is different, their location is different. And everyone I see often advising other people in terms of legal matters, financial matters, accounting matters. And it's like, no, just because this works for you, that doesn't make it appropriate advice for someone else. Like if someone else's dog is vomiting, but your dog was seen for vomiting at the vet, you can't just, if you're not a vet, tell them, well, I did this for vomiting. Your dog can have that for vomiting too, right? Like, are you kidding me? And we do it to each other. We do the thing that we see our clients do that drives us insane. We do it to each other, right? And so I think it's such an important point that you mentioned, like advising each other. We're veterinarians, right? We're not accountants. We're not attorneys. We're not financial advisors, unless we are a financial coach, for example, that you are. But it's a very, very important thing to keep in mind that your stuff is personal and you're not going to get those answers just from any old schmo on the internet, just because they've been through something similar to what you're doing. So thank you for that idea. I find it really valuable to talk about that and kind of open people's eyes to that kind of phenomenon. And so, in summary, since we are in the House Call Vet Cafe, can you guys tell me what your favorite tea, coffee, or other beverages to drink? It can be alcoholic, non-alcoholic, whatever it might be.
Yes. So I want to talk about my favorite coffee. So my husband makes these Mexican mochas. And when I say Mexican, I mean he's using the chocolate pieces that are from Mexico that are made for hot cocoa. And he makes a mocha out of it. And Willie, when he visited actually in December, drank a couple of these, and they're just phenomenal. They have whipped cream on top, and it's just the best.
They're delicious for sure.
Delicious. Is there any sort of spiciness to it?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Oh, that sounds absolutely delicious. How about you, Willie?
It depends on the time of day. If it's after midday, I probably would have a beer. If it's before that, coffee. And as far as what type of coffee, I am actually traveling to Puerto Rico for, one of my, well, I'm doing a conference, but one of my nonprofit events, which you mentioned in the introduction. And I just buy a lot of coffee from Puerto Rico and bring it back, and that's what I make.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Can I put in an order with you? I want.
We can do it. I think you live like an hour away from me, so we could make that.
Yeah, and then Meredith, I need to put in an order for the Mexican mocha, like like version of That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today and for sharing your insights and your advice. And I'm just super excited for the conference coming up and for our co-sponsorship. It's just awesome to collaborate with folks who are so like-minded and who can help people in kind of complementary ways like that. So
Thanks again, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the House Call Vet Cafe. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never have to miss an episode. This podcast is made specifically for you, so don't be shy if you'd like to reach out and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as The House Call Vet Academy, where I also share more valuable content. If you're interested in learning more about consulting for House Call Vets or the House Call Vet Academy online course and community, please click on the link in the show notes. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of the House Call Vet Cafe.
If you're looking for help with ultrasound scanning, check out First Opinion Veterinary Ultrasound for independent machine reviews and online and in-person teaching options. FOVU, simplifying ultrasound.